Right now, a lot of people are celebrating something called vibe coding. Describe what you want. AI generates the code, and suddenly, software development looks almost effortless. But there's a dangerous misunderstanding hidden in that excitement. Because the hardest problem in software engineering was never writing code, it was always controlling system complexity. And vibe coding quietly removes the mechanism we normally use to control it. The goal behind vibe coding is perfectly rational. Organizations want to move faster, developers want to eliminate boilerplate, and AI tools are remarkably good at producing working code quickly. For prototypes, internal tools, and small services, this can be incredibly productive, so the attraction makes sense. But systems thinking never evaluates a tool based on the first feature. It evaluates the tool based on the system that emerges after the 200th feature. That's where the interesting question begins. Vibe coding introduces a very specific development pattern. The workflow looks roughly like this: idea, prompt, generated code, test, iteration. The system evolves feature by feature. Each change improves something locally, and each feature works. But there is no moment in this loop where someone asks a very specific architectural question. What structure is this system becoming? The system evolves, but the structure emerges accidentally. Three forces immediately start shaping the system. First, local optimization. AI generates code that solves the immediate problem, not the system-level problem. Second, coupling without awareness. Generated code integrates with whatever is already there. Dependencies accumulate, but nobody deliberately designed them. Third, decision avoidance. Architecture forces teams to make uncomfortable decisions early. Boundaries, ownership, failure behavior, scaling strategy. Vibe coding allows teams to postpone those decisions, which feels efficient. But systems thinking has a name for this. It's called decision debt. When those forces interact over time, a predictable dynamic appears. The system grows, features accumulate, dependencies multiply, and gradually something subtle happens. Nobody can fully explain how the system works anymore. Every engineer can understand a piece of it, but nobody understands the structure of the whole. Architects see this pattern constantly in production systems, but AI changes one variable. It increases the speed of structural drift. Code can now appear faster than architecture can stabilize the system, so complexity grows faster than understanding. This is the point where leadership misunderstandings often appear. Someone looks at AI coding tools and concludes, maybe we don't need as many engineers. But that conclusion misunderstands where engineering effort actually goes. Writing code was never the bottleneck. The bottleneck was always making safe decisions about system structure. Production systems require explicit decisions about system boundaries, ownership models, data flow failure, propagation, and operational control. Those decisions do not disappear when AI writes the code. They simply stop being made deliberately, which means the system still develops structure, but now that structure is invisible. This is where systems thinking introduces something important. The problem is not AI generating code. The problem is systems evolving without a control loop on architectural decisions. Healthy software systems have a mechanism that constantly asks three questions. What are the boundaries of this system? Who owns each responsibility? And how does failure propagate through the structure? When those questions are continuously answered, the architecture stabilizes. When they are ignored, structural drift accelerates. AI tools do not remove the need for this control loop. In fact, they make it more important. Because the faster code appears, the faster the system can drift. Systems thinking predicts the behavior of systems built this way. At small scale, vibe coding feels magical. At medium scale, teams start saying, only a few people really understand this system. At large scale, the organization enters a very familiar phase. They are no longer building software. They are reverse engineering the system they accidentally created. At that moment, something interesting happens. AI did not eliminate complexity. It simply removed the architectural control loop that normally keeps complexity survivable. Systems thinking doesn't say we should avoid vibe coding. It says something more precise. If AI accelerates code creation, then organizations must strengthen the mechanism that controls architectural decisions. Because AI can generate code, but it cannot maintain the control loops that keep systems understandable. And in large systems, that control loop is called architecture.